Now friends, I know for a fact that I'm not the only one convening here today that is first and foremost a mood reader. I think at this point I have figured out a system for myself where I can choose a TBR every month and figure that TBR out based on the mood I am when I am choosing it, and then reading the books based on the mood I am in the upcoming weeks. But other than that, I have to base my reading off of vibes. I am not the person that is super organized with the spreadsheets and the schedules, and this week I'll be reading this and the next week I'll be reading that. It is just not the type of reader that I am, and I just have to gauge how I'm feeling in the moment and figure out, am I feeling fantasy? Am I feeling romance? Am I feeling thriller? Or am I feeling sci-fi? Which is why I thought for the next week we can actually do a mood reading vlog. Just pick up what I want in the moment, read it, hopefully enjoy it, maybe find a new favorite, and see how much realistically I can read in a week. I get tons of questions all the time, be it in live streams or in videos, on tips and tricks on how to read more, on how to read faster. I am definitely not the person to go to, and I think you'll realize throughout the course of the vlog that I read whenever I can and I find those little spaces for myself to read in, but I am not focused on a certain page count each day, nor a certain page count a week, nor however many books I need to finish by the end of the week. I just read whenever I want to pick up a book, and if I'm not in the mood to read, then I don't. There are days I read, there are weeks I read, as well as there are days and weeks that I don't. So I think as part of this video, it'll be fun to, at the end of each day, kind of show you a tally of how much I read and just chat about these books as we go. So welcome to a mood reading vlog. This book has been eyeing me since last week, so I think it's time for me to give in to my mood reading self and start Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Again, this is a part of my August TBR because I do make a TBR every month, but at the start of this new week, because today for context is Monday, my soul is calling for an Ali Hazelwood book to balance out the other read I'm currently reading, which is Game of Thrones, and have the best of both worlds. So thinking this as our very first book sounds literally perfect. When I tell you guys, I am just about ready to head to bed because my eyes are super fatigued. I've been saying it for weeks now and I haven't done it yet. I need to seriously switch the light bulb in my office because yellow lighting really does kill my eyeballs. Like, it just makes my eyes feel so tired. Everything's blurry right now. I can't even tell if I am in focus or anything. Even with my glasses on, it's that bad. So I have updates. I did read a ton of Not in Love today. I got to page 141. It's the start of chapter 13 and I am loving this book. This book is so good, and I'm honestly pleasantly surprised at the fact that no smut showed up until past page 100, which is surprising because this book is mostly sold as an erotica and it's heavily advertised as being one of Ali Hazelwood's smuttiest books, and so far it's just had that one scene that we got, but I am curious to see how much more we're going to get as the book goes on, because to me now what it's coming across as is that this book is pitched as more of an erotica, or the author is advertising it that way so that people are not surprised when they get more than one smut scene, because the setup for the story is exactly the same as any other romance book, and I really love that because I thought we'd be banging immediately as the book starts. So it took me by surprise in the best way possible that she actually does take the time to introduce the characters and explain, you know, their childhoods and exactly what has made them behave the way that they do now as adults, and explains a lot of their habits and MOs. So in this book, we follow our main character, Rue, who is a food scientist. She's currently leading a project at Klein that has all to do with food preservation. So she is trying to figure out ways to make perishables last longer. And as part of her job now, what she is facing is Harkness, a private equity group, buying the loan off of another company that Florence Florence Klein, the owner of the company she works at, owed money to. And now they are coming in to really figure out what is happening in this place, exactly why the loans haven't been paid off, and exactly how this place operates on a day-to-day basis. What messes everything up though, aside from the high stress situation that everybody at Klein is undergoing, is the fact that the night before being introduced to the people that have bought the loan off the other company, Rue, who is a serial one-night stander, ends up meeting up with Eli Kilgore, who she finds immediately attractive, wants to have a night with, and lo and behold, nothing happens that first night because things go incredibly wrong because there's an incident with her brother. Next day, when she meets everybody from Harkness, turns out that he is one of the managing partners of the company, and immediately everything goes awry because they are immensely attracted to each other, but they don't want to engage in whatever attraction and chemistry is going because of the current situation happening at work, and also because Rue specifically feels like she'd be betraying her friend, Florence Klein, by even engaging in anything with Eli despite the heavy attraction they feel for each other. Again, I was quite surprised that as the book starts, despite them meeting up to have a one-night stand, the one-night stand doesn't push through, and instead they take the time to get to know each other. I am wondering, just based on a lot of the descriptions used for Rue and the way that Rue talks about her childhood and about her interpersonal relationships, if she is neurodivergent to any capacity, because it is reinforced throughout the book that she struggles quite a lot with social cues, she struggles quite a lot to make connections with people, and that people had often branded her as a stoic queen because she doesn't approach conversations or interpersonal relationships in the same way that other people in her life have. And so that in turn makes her come across as very sarcastic and off-putting to other people, and Eli immediately takes to it, and that's something that I love. He matches her energy, he matches her way of conversation, and he's just very reciprocal right from the get-go, which is something that she very much appreciates because she feels like her social battery isn't nearly as drained with him as it is with other people, and that immediately sets up this dynamic between the two of them where even though she is stoic, he very much likes it, and in fact it kind of turns him on. It's so funny because this man is such a simp. He is a little slut for this girl, and I absolutely love it. It's the way that he immediately starts thinking of all the different ways he wants to worship her and pay attention to her and ravish her, and I just love every single second of it. There are loads of mentions as well at the beginning of the book about their respective childhoods, with the losses and the grief that he had to go through growing up and the responsibilities that he had to take up that he didn't necessarily need to at the age that he did, as well as Rue's rough upbringing where there wasn't any food on the table, which is a huge motivator for her work, and her experiences again making friends or attempting relationships that didn't go over well, that have turned both of these people into commitment averse individuals where they're not only scared of getting hurt, but they really feel like emotionally they are not available enough to engage in a serious relationship, even though they are, which is like the funny thing in romance books, right? Characters think that they can't do something and they're doing it all throughout the novel without even realizing that that's what they're doing. And so I'm liking this a lot. It is very different from other Ali Hazelwoods while still retaining the same charm that her books have. It's still touching heavy on the sciencey part of it. It's still going heavy into the acquisition side of things. So when it comes to the plot, it's developing all of it very consistently whilst also building both of our characters quite well and their chemistry and tension with each other. Where I'd say that it's a little bit different from her other releases is the fact that obviously the topic of sex and that intimacy, like physical intimacy, comes up a lot throughout the book, and we don't see the act itself up until again the 100-page threshold. However, in those first 100 pages, I think physicality is mentioned a lot, which is very different to her other books. But other than that, so far, it's pretty much the same story structure as any other Ali Hazelwood book, and I'm surprised because a lot of people haven't talked about it that way, so I'm enjoying it. I can't wait to keep on reading tomorrow, but I am just about ready to head to bed. Let's put the tally at 140 pages. Honestly, a really good day. Guess who who did not update you at all yesterday? Me. I was deep in the editing trenches yesterday. I was editing today's video and also some Patreon exclusives, updating the spreadsheets and the material for the current Patreon readathon we are doing. And I did read in the middle of all of that, but I was reading like so sporadically that I did not pick up the camera to film much B-roll because I was reading 10 pages at a time, then 50 pages at a time, then 20 pages at a time. And yesterday I did manage to read 140 pages more of Not in Love, so that goes up for the tally for Tuesday. However, today I've already finished the book. I've already read the remaining 100 pages of Not in Love, so I really did enjoy this. I ended up giving this 4 stars. I think while the typical charm of an Ali Hazelwood book was present, I still think it was in ways different in the way that she approached the relationship and the characters and their dynamic. Most of it was very enjoyable. I really did enjoy reading about a very different type of romance where both of the characters are used to connecting in very specific ways with their partners, how they are commitment averse, how vocalizing their feelings specifically for Rue is incredibly difficult, and being in this relationship or this dynamic or this partnership where she's engaged in intimacy or deep conversation with somebody more than once. It's something that's very new to her, something that's very challenging, but something that also provided loads of growth, and for her to realize that the issue has not been her, the issue has been the people that she has been with in the past, or the people that she has surrounded herself with that weren't just very understanding of how she goes about interpersonal relationships, how she goes about the romance, and how she goes about socializing in general. And so I really love that by extension she seemed to meet really cool people through Eli because of his group of friends, which I absolutely loved. I think from Hark to Minami to Sol, I think all of them were really amazing, and I did like them just a little bit more than Rue's friends. I think they were very bantery and playful, but also straightforward and honest and supportive in the places that they needed to be. I like how the whole STEM thing showed up in here and how that ties up. So I think personally with the main character, I feel like in the past when we have seen the STEM main characters in Ali Hazelwood's book, which by the way, I'm gonna start making a coffee because that's what I'm in the kitchen for. I'm not just in the kitchen for the shits and giggles. But yeah, I feel like in comparison to a lot of her other protagonists, Rue is much more in tune with exactly why she's pursuing food science and why she doesn't want it messed with, and why it's so important for her to earn all of the IP and for her to own the patents, because it's so very near and dear to her that it would be really detrimental, I think, to her emotionally if she wasn't as in control of her project as she is. So I think in that sense, the book was very perhaps different from other Ali Hazelwood books in a way that I really enjoyed. And even for Eli, the reason why he gets into finance, I think, is a lot more personal than a lot of the other professions we have seen in Ali Hazelwood's book. So I really liked the characters' motivations. I really liked why they have chosen their very specific professional paths. It is a slightly heavier book and frustrating book, I think, because our characters are not always so straightforward with how they're feeling. But I do like that she includes, and they're, you know, in italics, but I do appreciate that she puts these almost internal monologue moments to describe how the characters are feeling and all of the things they wish they could say but they're not out of fear, which I think makes you understand what the characters are feeling just a little bit better and for it to be a little bit less frustrating. So it's like you as the reader are privy to these things, but each other, like the characters, are not necessarily. And I honestly vibed with it a lot. I don't know that I'd necessarily call this book an erotica though. I think that I stand by my opinion, which I know a lot of my patrons share because we were talking about it during sprints. I definitely think that this book is pitched as an erotica to prepare people when they're walking into this to expect a lot more smut than maybe the typical Ali Hazelwood book or maybe the typical romance books that people would pick up that are more closed door or just a little bit less heavy-handed when it comes to the smut. And so I wouldn't call it an erotica by any means. I definitely think it is smuttier, but oftentimes erotica don't dive deep into who the characters are and their backstories, whereas this one does. So I think branding it as an erotica is almost like taking away from what the book actually explores, but I'm also not well versed enough in erotica to completely claim with confidence that it doesn't include any of the personality tidbits and backstories that we get, because maybe there are some eroticas that do. I just maybe haven't encountered any of them. All that to say though, I do think that not all of the smut was great in this book. I was not expecting Eli to be a 5-second king. I was just I think somewhat off-put by that. So although it has quite a bit of smut, I still stand by what I always talk about, which is I don't mind smut. It is not necessary for me personally when I'm reading books. If it's there, I'll enjoy it, but it better be good if it's gonna be in the story. Like, it better not be some level of whack. And some of the smut scenes, I was like, okay, sure, Allie Hazelwood, that's kind of I didn't find myself going, ooh, ah, in a lot of them, which is why I think I bumped down my rating a little bit, as well as some of the dialogue didn't always feel like super organic. Most of the time it does, but there are definitely points where it doesn't. But other than that, like, the book was okay. It was a fun time. Definitely not my favorite Allie Hazelwood, but still a fun time nonetheless. And now we go into the office, we enjoy a nice little coffee, and I need to make choices on what to read next. Like, the chances are I'm probably gonna read a little bit of Game of Thrones to make progress with that, and then probably move on to something else. Don't know what that something else will be though, so we'll find out together. Sprints for the day have been done, and I sat down and I read a little bit of my second book of the day. I don't typically finish a book and then start a new one on the same day unless they're very different genres or unless I'm like heavily in the reading mood. But other than that, I feel like it's very specific days where I do it, but not most of the time. So because I had already started Game of Thrones and I was already about 128 pages, I believe, into it, I figured let me make some more progress with this now that I have finished Not in Love. And technically this is, not technically, I mean literally it is for another vlog, because I am filming a Game of Thrones spoilery vlog. It's probably gonna be a really long video just because I've got so many thoughts as I'm reading, and I am also annotating the book because it's the, you know, it's the full experience, baby. I don't know that I'm going to finish it within the week because this vlog has got no specific time frame in which I want it up, because it's just like an added little extra video. It's not part of the main roster for the month. It's just a little third video in a random week that I'm throwing in. However, I did read, and let me double check because I made the math, 33 pages. So today's official tally for Wednesday comes up to 133 pages. That said, I did get to page exactly 160. That's kind of satisfying of Game of Thrones. I'm about to start a Ned chapter, and I am really, really loving this. I think unsurprising. I've watched the show many different times. I have watched House of the Dragon season 1 several times over. I obviously tuned in for season 2. Didn't love it, but it was still a good time and a good excuse to get together with my family. And this experience is every bit as exciting and as engaging as I was expecting it to be. I think George R.R. Martin is truly a master at building atmosphere and really conveying the characters' emotions in the most gut-wrenching and just disarmingly honest way. I am loving all of the characters and how he's presenting all of the information. I think the writing is very accessible for a book that is so politically and historically heavy. However, I am finding myself reading this slower than my typical book. I think it's partly because I have grown out of the habit of reading high fantasies, because a few years ago I was reading it more often, and also the fact that I just want to soak in all of the information. I am in no rush whatsoever, and some days I'm reading 20 pages, some days I'm reading 50, some days I'm reading 30, and so I'm just taking this in stride and just enjoying the journey, however slow I am consuming the book. And I can't wait to get further ways into it and see just even along the entire series how all of these characters develop and grow through time, because I obviously already know certain plot lines that are going to show up in the books. I know also the book in many ways is very different to the show, and it is definitely proving that. I think not only is it different in the sense that as any other book, different from its adaptation, will give you loads more context that the adaptation will not, and then also there are several events that happen in the show that definitely do not happen in the book, specifically surrounding the brutalization and abuse of women, which I'd already been told before that those things were completely made up for the show by D&D, which were the showrunners, and so far it is proven to be completely correct. So I was pleasantly surprised by how certain scenes and certain things have been handled, which I think were done with a lot more grace than in the show. There are still a lot of fucked up, messed messed up things happening, obviously. I think within context, these things make sense, given that this is modeled after medieval times and it's not supposed to be a pretty story. Like, don't we know it? The tagline is literally, you play the Game of Thrones and you either win or you die. So the stakes are quite high for everybody involved. I also realized I've been talking for so long and I haven't even given you a synopsis, but basically in book one, we are primarily following House Stark, which are the lords and ladies residing in Winterfell and overseeing the entirety of the North for King Robert Baratheon. Now, at the start of the book, it is mentioned that his hand, which is the right-hand man, the advisor, the reinforcer for a king in a lot of different ways, Jon Arryn, has died. He died of mysterious causes, and it is for that very reason that King Robert Baratheon and his entourage head over to Winterfell for him to talk with Ned, who is a lifelong friend, and he had a very key role in helping Robert Baratheon become king in the first place by dethroning King Aerys Targaryen way back when. And so he goes to Winterfell with the intent of asking Ned Stark to become his Lord Hand, and that is essentially the catalyst of the story. It's Ned traveling over to King's Landing and assuming this role that he has never done in the past. He is a very loyal, honest, honorable person, which is why he fits into this role so perfectly. But it is that same honor that kind of works against him sometimes, because not everybody's playing an honorable game. And because this is a multi-POV story, we get to see this fragmented family where some of them have gone to King's Landing, some of them are staying in Winterfell, others are traveling further north. And then we also get Tyrion Lannister's POV, which is another royal house. He is part of the king's wife's family, the Lannisters, which are just a very prominent, powerful, dominant family in Westeros. And then we also get Daenerys Targaryen's POV. She resides at the moment in Essos, which is an entirely different continent to Westeros. And we are seeing her and her brother Viserys as they try to recruit the necessary forces in order for Viserys to get his throne back, because prior to King Robert being king, their father was king. And that is basically the story somewhat encapsulated. I find that it's very hard to encapsulate it fully, and I think to give the story justice by only giving you a synopsis, because the story honestly is so complex and there are so many different moving parts. I didn't realize just how many POVs and different stories we got in here. I think it makes sense just because when you watch the show, you get to see all of these characters very personally and closely, that it shouldn't be as shocking as it was to me, at least, to have seen so many POVs and getting to follow basically every single stellar role, because it makes sense. They got the story from somewhere, right? So I am really enjoying this. I can't wait to keep on reading, hopefully tomorrow and the days to come. I will probably still make progress with another read as I read Game of Thrones, because if there's something I have learned is that when I'm reading something slower, I like to have another read alongside it so that I am not behind on like other videos and stuff. So we'll see tomorrow what I pick up. It may be another romance. It may just be progress with another one of my ongoing books. Who knows? I think it'll all depend on what mood I am in after I come back from my maxillofacial appointment. So we will find out together. I am gonna go now, get a good night's rest, and just hope for some good medical news, because it's always just a little bit anxiety inducing. Good morning, friends, and welcome to day 4 of this reading experiment. I love that I'm calling it a reading experiment and it's just me mood reading. There's nothing experimental about me just picking up a book whenever I want to read it, but welcome to Thursday. We need to pack a bag because I am about to head out to my favorite coffee shop. You guys know the drill. I love to take myself out on these little productivity dates, me by my lonesome, getting some reading done, some work done. I absolutely love it. And I have been holed up at home for the past few days, just live streaming, filming, editing, and yes, getting some reading done, but I haven't really gone out. And I like to catch myself when I'm doing that, because I know that if I don't get out of this scenery, the anxiety will start to go. So today I am going out into the wild, and Liv and I are planning a little productivity session as well over on video call so that we can each do our own thing as we are out at the coffee shop. I think it's going to be really, really nice. And I am going to take Game of Thrones with me because I really want to make some more progress with this today, potentially get to page 200. So we'll see how much I'm able to read. And then I also want to check Libby to see if they have A Curious Beginning, which is the first book in the Veronica Speedwell series by Deanna Raybourn, because I have been reading that physically. However, because I'm reading this one physically and I feel like this is taking some of my focus right now, and I'm like really, really wanting to make progress, I want to see if they have it available tomorrow so that I can use it on on my e-reader so that at night when I'm laying in bed getting ready to clunk out, I can just get some of that reading done and have fun with it. So we'll see. I'm hoping that Libby will agree with me here because a lot of the time they just don't have books ready to borrow and the wait lines are long. So we'll figure it out together. We'll see if we have any success. But for now, let's pack a bag so that we can head out. What a change of lighting, what a change of scenery, what a change of time of day too. Because the last time I recorded any B-roll today or even talked to you guys was this morning before and while I was at the coffee shop, and I had a lovely time. My brother ended up joining me like smack down the middle of my session. Liv and I at that point had already hung up and my brother had already gotten back from his classes. I was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, not much, just finished eating. Why? And so he joined me. We read Game of Thrones together. It was lovely. Honestly, it's been such a good experience reading this book with him and just giving him my updates as I go. And I think it's also been really fun in regards to if I have got any doubts, I can clear them with him because he knows everything. Like, this man is a walking Song of Ice and Fire encyclopedia. It's actually crazy. So again, we got some reading done together. I ate at the coffee shop, had a nice chai latte. Theirs is so freaking good. So you better bet it was a good time for yours truly. However, I got to page 222 of A Game of Thrones, which means that I read, I think it comes up to 63 pages. I'll leave the official tally of how we're doing right now up on the screen. I will be doing some more reading, just not of Game of Thrones before I go to bed, but just thought I'd give you this page count and tell you what I found super fascinating in these last 63 pages, which is this reinforcement of honor versus cunning. I think because a lot of the book is focused on a literal Game of Thrones to see who sits on that throne, whose reign can prevail, and even for the people that are in the council or in the different royal houses, how exactly they butt into the decision making in order to reinforce their own power. It's been talked about a lot that honor serves no purpose in this game. Honor is what gets you killed. Honor is what gets you in trouble. Honor is the very thing that can just end it all for you and take you completely out. And I think specifically for a few characters, I won't name any names, but if you know, you know, it definitely seems like it'll be their downfall and that it'll be to their own detriment, which is very sad. So I really loved that about these past 63 pages. Also love that we got another Daenerys chapter and we got a little bit of the Targaryen dreams, which if you guys have read the series, then you know that House Targaryen does have the ability of having prophetic dreams. And so we did see just a little bit of that, which was really, really cool in Dany's chapter. And so I think we're making moves towards a really, really cool second half of the book, which is why I want to get to page 300. Hopefully, fingers crossed, tomorrow we'll see how it goes so that I can potentially hit my stride even further tomorrow and keep on reading and see where that goes. So today's reading session, I'd say, was a success. We also met Sirio Forel and he's one of my favorites. Oh my god, it brought me so much joy. I also met Sam Tully, which my little bean, I just love him so much. So honestly, very excited to keep on getting to know these characters, and for characters that are currently missing in the story that have either been mentioned or haven't even shown up yet, for them to be introduced into the storyline so that I can enjoy this even more fully than I already am. So I love this. Now for tonight, as I settle into bed, fall asleep, all the things, I mentioned earlier that I do own and I have already started A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn. However, because I am reading Game of Thrones physically and I just don't like to have a lot of lights on when I am in the bedroom, I figured let me get the Kindle version, see if Libby has it, and then just read it digitally. Libby was a bust. It was a 12-week wait, and so I saw that Kindle had it for $3.99, went ahead and got it. For this one, I am continuing from chapter 11, which is page 102. So I am already 100 pages in. We have broken through the threshold, which is amazing. It's moments like these where I wish I had 2 switches in my bathroom, one for the fan and then another one for the rest of the lights, because every time I turn these on, it's just a mess. Literally, listen to this. Nothing. Peace. And then that. It's just a lot. It's a whole lot. Anyways, welcome. Let us convene in my bathroom as I take my makeup off before I turn in, read a little bit more before bed, and then just end the day. Today was a long one. I woke up early today, had a work meeting and a couple things to figure out work-wise, and it was an anxiety-inducing one. I think everything was super exciting and everything panned out in the best way possible, which I'm very, very grateful for. I don't tend to have meetings with brands when we're doing an integration, a sponsorship, or a segment in the channel, but for this one they did require a little meeting, and I was very, very nervous going into it because I obviously wanted to leave a really good first impression and make sure that everything was looking good, and I honestly think it went super well and I love it so much and I'm so excited. But before and a little bit after that, I was like an anxious mess, so I spent the day essentially just doing desk work, and then I had a small live show with my patrons, and then I did read a little bit of A Curious Beginning. I've obviously been reading it digitally, but for the sake of the update, I am going to hold it up. Hello. But I did read 50 pages today, so that goes right up to the counter. I got to chapter 15 of A Curious Beginning, which means that I read roughly 4 chapters. The chapters are quite lengthy for this one, but the story is so good. We follow Veronica Speedwell, who recently buried her spinster aunt. Veronica herself is considered a spinster because although she is an adult, she has never taken a husband, and she definitely doesn't wish to do so. She enjoys her single life. She enjoys going into her romantic escapades and doing whatever she wants with her life without the limitations of marriage or the limitations of what is expected of women in the 1800s. And so after burying her aunt, she is trying to figure out what the next adventure is going to be, and it kind of decides itself for her after somebody tries to assassinate her. She is saved by a baron who claims that he knows a little bit more of her past and her family, and she obviously is taken by curiosity because she wants to know more, and she decides to embark on this journey with this person who saved her. However, this baron is claiming that the only person that is capable of keeping her safe from imminent danger is one character named Stoker, who is an ex-military man and a taxidermist and a scientist and just so many different things. Like, this man has got an ongoing list of things that he does both as hobbies and for a living and to get by, and these two end up going on an adventure to seek answers to this whole mystery, this murder mystery specifically that's happening in the story that happened very unexpectedly, that they both find themselves involved in, and it is so very good. It's so comedic. The banter between Veronica and Stoker is absolutely wonderful. It's just so cheeky and clever, and I love that both of these people are intellectual equals. It's one of my favorite dynamics. Both of them were natural historians, so I think inherently, because of their line of work and what they enjoy doing and how well educated they are in it, they are constantly verbally sparring with their agreements and disagreements, and when they spot the other doing something wrong or tagging something wrong, they make sure to point that out just out of spite because they know it's gonna get a rise out of the other person, and I absolutely love it. And seeing these characters slowly but surely open up to each other, where they are starting to get vulnerable in these current chapters I am on, has just been wonderful, because so far it's just been a lot of that like tension and chemistry. I know it's a very, 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 very slow burn romance. I don't think they get together until a few books into the series, but all the same to me, because I love me a good slow burn, and I think as long as the dynamic lends itself for something really cool, I really don't mind it. And I think specifically because both of these characters are so smart, it's kind of giving like Sherlock Holmes in the BBC show, you know what I mean? Where we know Sherlock is incredibly smart, like out of this world astute, and because of that, it keeps getting in the way of forming deeper connections alongside everything else. Like, it's more nuanced than that, but it does get in the way of forming like deep emotional bonds because it's not the focus. And so I love that these characters seem to be mirroring that same dynamic. So I just know that when these two finally admit to themselves and to each other that there is something there, I just know it's gonna be so good. So I can't wait for Deanna Raybourn to take me on that journey, because I think it's gonna be phenomenal, and I can't wait to find out what happened with this murder mystery. It's honestly been such a cool, dynamic, action-packed story so far that I am so distracted with what's happening in the now that I haven't even like thought far ahead enough to be like, oh, what could have happened? And so I love that it's one of those stories that has gripped you in the what's happening right now, and we'll get there when we get there. We'll establish that conversation when we need to cross that bridge, and I really, really love that. They're currently with a traveling circus. If you've read the book, then you know. And the knife scene, y'all, the knife scene! Oh my god, it was so good. And right now I am experiencing some heart for comfort, one of my favorite things to ever exist. And I'm just having a great time with Stoker and Veronica, truly. So I can't wait to keep on reading and to just continue having a good time with it. I don't know how much else I'm going to read tonight because I'm not gonna lie, I was totally sitting in bed and I just fell asleep reading. And so I think it's high time that I just turn in, go to bed. And so more likely than not, I will fall asleep as I attempt to read something more. Sadly, no Game of Thrones was read today because I did want to make progress with that and potentially get to page 300. But given the anxieties of the day and the fact that my brain was like truly not engaged with anything outside of making myself feel good and getting to a spot where my heart wasn't fucking racing, I did not read any of that. So hopefully on Sunday, I'm able to get some more reading in that regard, because tomorrow I just know is not going to be a heavy reading day. I can preface tomorrow today by saying that, because tomorrow I need to edit Sunday's video, so that's gonna be like a huge chunk of my day gone. Then on top of that, I am hanging out with my brother and a friend. I'm not mad at it because I do have Patreon sprints then, so I feel like it's gonna be good to kind of compensate for everything I don't read tomorrow and to just have a cozy day in full of reading and chats and all of the good things. So I feel like Sunday is going to be good because tomorrow is going to be one hectic day. Makeup is off, a girl is moisturized, titties are free, I have drank my water, and now we jump into reading A Curious Beginning. I again am picking up from chapter 15. I've got my trusty little iPad, which I call my Kindle, which I call my e-reader because it really is the only thing I'm using it for these days, and evidently I've got it decorated and everything, so this is as Kindle as it's gonna get for me for a while. I'm not gonna lie, I have thought about getting like a proper Kindle just because of the actual like rice paper screen, because I don't want to add a rice cover screen protector to this, but will I actually use it? I don't know. I go through periods where I use my e-reader a lot, and then there are moments in time where I don't pick it up for a couple of weeks because I'm mostly reading physically, sprinkled in with the occasional audiobook, and so I don't know what to do, but I have thought about it. But for now, we sit, we read, we enjoy. It's 12:09 a.m. by the way, so technically whatever I read from this point on counts for today/tomorrow, as in Saturday. So let's read. I did not update you at all yesterday. Today is Sunday, which is technically the last day of this mood reading vlog. Yesterday, I read a total of 25 pages, so that goes right up to Saturday's counter. And then today, so far, I have read, I'm gonna have to do some math here. I'm on page 207 so far, and last night, I was at page 175. There's also a really loud car going by. Oh my god. So I've read 32 pages so far today. I will definitely be reading a little bit more. I am about to go to my mom's house, and I am going to take my e-reader with me so that I can get to at least page 240, so that I am basically 100 pages out from finishing this. I may get further, but for right now, I think 240 is my page count goal for the day. I had a really productive work day today. I finished editing today's video. I rarely do this where I have to edit the day's video on the same day, but I was editing my finishing series I'm in the middle of vlog, and there was literally so much footage. I edited the intro wrong. I didn't realize what I had initially planned because that video was filmed over the course of an entire month, and so I had to like redo the intro and all of the graphics and stuff, and I had to like dress up Notion for it, so that just took up a lot of my time. And then I had other things in my to-do list to get done regarding the Patreon readathon, updating spreadsheets, the usual, and so I had a heavy work day today. I sprinted on Patreon. We sprinted for 8 hours, so I just got off at 6:19 p.m. And I've been talking to my mom for the better part of today because we were talking about how there's no more House of the Dragon, like it's done. And we used to meet up every Sunday for it. Like we just watch all of the Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon seasons as they come out, and it's a really great excuse to just have a good family hangout. And today she texted me, she's like, fuck dude, there's literally no House of the Dragon today. And I'm like, I know, I was gonna text you to see if we could, you know, do something today outside of House of the Dragon, and she said yes. And so we are going to have a movie night tonight. She's taking care of the food, I'm taking care of the snacks. I already ordered them, they are downstairs, so I may just do a little haul for you to show you what I'm taking over to my mom's, and then pack everything up and go over there because I'm excited. It's gonna be a good family hangout. Before we even start the movie, I'm sure I'll get to read some of A Curious Beginning because a gaming session always ensues between my brother and my mom's partner. They always usually play some Xbox or some sort of game, so I'm sure I'll have just a little bit of time before to get to my desired page count. I'll update you at the end of the night when I am back home. That said though, an actual book update that has got nothing to do with which snacks I bought and going over to my mom's and any other updates. This book is so freaking good. I just love it so much because the way that these characters banter with each other and they play off of each other, it is so like Sherlock and Watson, and I absolutely love that. There was this one quote that I had to underline because I was like, dude, this is literally too good. I returned to the snug and fixed him with a challenging eye. You have heard what Lady Cordelia suggests, that we hide out here in safety until the police have found the culprit. I did, he said in a perfectly reasonable tone. And you agree that this would be the most logical, sensible course of action? I do. And you understand I mean to do precisely the opposite. His mouth curved into a slow smile. I do. Where shall we begin? I returned the smile with one of my own. At the beginning, of course. They're just so freaking good, and I love that they seem to be developing this bigger understanding of each other as the book goes on, because both of them start out quite secretive with each other. They're complete strangers. They really didn't know each other up until they were thrust into this adventure, this quest of figuring out this murder mystery and trying to solve all these context clues about Veronica's past and just trying to survive because both of them are in danger. And so seeing them get to a spot where they're comfortable with each other enough to be so jokey and again be so playful with each other, where they just know what the other is gonna do because in so many ways they are so similar, and they know that they are going to seek out the information. They are going to go ahead and engage with something dangerous because sitting still means not getting any answers, and neither of them are willing to go down that route. And so I absolutely love just how up to the challenge these two characters are, and how they just seem to understand like this deep need to find out all of the answers to these, you know, to these questions. And I can't wait to keep on going with the series. It's quite long, but honestly the books are all so short and they go by quite quickly once you get into the rhythm of the story, that I just know this is going to be such a cozy series to get into. It's going to be so good. I also figured out like the perfect song to listen to as I am getting into the thick of all of the investigation and finding out who did what and what happened where. I have this reading playlist that I made a few days ago, because even though I have a bunch of reading playlists that I listen to, I always gravitate towards certain specific songs that I feel for my brain really set the tone quite well. So I will be leaving it linked down below in case you guys want to check that out. It's definitely more catered towards the fantasy, but I think there are songs that I can definitely listen to if I'm listening to like a mystery or if I'm listening to maybe a slower read. And the song that I figured was going perfect with this, that I've just put it on loop, is The Scholar's Mate by Carlos Rafael Rivera, who composed all of the score for The Queen's Gambit. Oh my god, it's so good. I'm having the best time just listening to that as I get the reading done. So I can't wait to keep on going and seeing where the characters get to and take me to for the rest of the story. I think it's gonna be so good when the reveal is finally made and all of the information kind of lines up in a way that there are no more doubts in the middle of it. Oh my god, I think it's gonna be so good. So I'm ready, I'm excited, and I'll keep you updated. So let me go downstairs, I'll fetch the snacks and all the things, I'll show you what I got, and then we can pack up and go to Mama Reed's house. We have got both things right here. First of all, some Cinnabon, because I was craving something sweet because one, I'm getting my period. So this was selfishly for me, but I got it for everybody. So I got the Cinnabons with pecans, and then I got the regular ones, like the mini sizes, because they had a little promo going for, I think it was 3 for 2 or 3 for 1. I can't remember now. And then we got this bag right here, which is all of the chippage and snackage. So let us open her up. I got these because I have tried another brand and it's very, very similar. It's just pita chips, garlic and Parmesan. Can never go wrong with these. I find these super, super yummy. Got some Takis. These are the Explosion. I think these are like cheese flavored. I don't know. I just know that my mom's partner is obsessed with these. So I got him some of these because I know he's going to really appreciate those. And the cinnamon rolls. Got some Cheetos. These are Los Horneados. Puffs de queso. These are the puff ones. I don't know. This specific one, like the blue ones, I don't know if they have these everywhere because I know they make like different types for different countries and different continents and areas. And so these ones are really good. We like them a lot. And then you can't go wrong with these. I know a lot of people will argue like, oh my God, Pringles are best. No, they're not. No, they're not, because you remember when Pringles, well, at least they are not like that anymore here. But Pringles used to be like a radioactive orange. That was fun. It was yummy. Definitely really bad for you, but nobody's eating a chip because it's good for you. And so I used to really love those when I was younger. And now they just don't taste the same. Like the powder is super weak. At least the ones they distribute to Panama, like they're fucking bad. They taste like nothing. It tastes like cardboard, like straight up. And these ones are really flavorful. So got these. That's the little haul. Those are all the things I'm taking over to my mother's, and those are all the things we'll be snacking on. It's gonna be great.